some time. I asked him do you want me to give a bio? He said, no, everybody already kind of knows him. And obviously we've had a lot going on in the news lately, so he has a lot to talk about, and I know he's going to be taking some questions. So without any further delay, Mr. District Attorney Hillar Moore.
Thanks, Wendy. First of all, I want to appreciate you guys for an early birthday present, making me 6 foot tall.
I can see you now.
There will be no questions by the Channel 2 cameraman. But this is surely an honor for me to be here today. I do want to start by saying that this is, I think, my 15th year as the elected DA in my 3rd term. And I just want to tell you that I really appreciate the way the media has treated me and the office. We try to be as open as we can with you and tell you what we can. Some things we can't because of laws or ongoing matters, but you guys help us so much in the public sector, more than most people realize and agree. And I think that if we were more open and honest on things, that a lot of the good things would get out instead of just the bad. I try to answer the phone calls on the first or second ring when you call, or the email as quickly as I can, just because there's just nothing to hide. Answer the question. If we mess up, I'm going to tell you we have messed up, we've done something wrong, or we need to really look at that again. So it's always been just a very good relationship between the two, and I just want to tell you I really appreciate it. It makes things go a lot easier. So there's a lot going on in Baton Rouge, as you guys know. We really had experienced a pretty good year, except for the January month. January has, over the past several years, has seemed to be a really bad month. But following that, things have settled down in Baton Rouge. I don't have to tell you guys, but 2 years ago, our murders, we had 150 murders per year that year. That was the worst year ever. I've been here in Baton Rouge for 50 years, and I've been in this system for just about 50 years off, but a few years of college. And we always hovered around 60 to 80 murders a year to 88. That's always been the baseline. And if you look at national averages, at 80, we are double what the national average or our average should be. So we should always try to strive to be around 40 or 50 in Baton Rouge. Unfortunately, as you see today, by some of the data, we're at 92 today. This weekend was very violent as homicide goes, and some shots fired. I'd like for you to look at the calendar, the data. You see, November was also a bad month. I think we had 12 homicides in November. Right now we're at 2, I believe. But look at the 3 months prior to that. We had 2, 3, and 5, or 2, 5, and 1. Forget. The numbers were, for those 3 months, phenomenally low for a city and parish our size with our history, and that's really where we should be. From the year where they had 150 homicides, that's the COVID years. Everyone around the country, with some exception, saw increases in homicide, particularly saw increases in domestic violence. And we were no stranger to that in Baton Rouge. That number, you saw daytime shootings, you saw people from New Orleans coming to Baton Rouge and conducting things. Nobody was out on the street. The police were sick just like you were. They were shorthanded. They're still shorthanded just because of as things are going on in the country. And it was hard to control. There was no court. No one saw a judge. No one had a bond. We were not putting people in jail because of COVID. People were getting sick. All of that stuff added to that year at 150. Then the year after that was 119, and now we're at 92. So we are actually going in the right direction, albeit 92 is way off the chart for where we should be. The year that we had 150 homicides, it does not reflect in the data you have. Of that 150, 32 were domestic violence and or intimate partner-related violence. And what gets more people killed and injured in dating violence and intimate partner violence is your cell phone. Particularly when you're living at home with the one who loves you, but you do get to go to work and go to school and get out of the house. and get away and maybe delete things. When you're at home during the COVID years, that phone was dangerous. People would look at the text. Who you're texting, who do you have pictures of, where you're going, and that power and control came to action, and we saw that number as it was. We should have, for a city our size, 2 to 5 a year. Today, as of today, we're at 16 domestic violence homicides for this year. Yes, half 2 years ago, but way out of whack. But I still think we're dealing with some hangover from COVID. So that's kind of where we are in the homicide numbers. Some of the other numbers I wanted to read to you that I was not able to produce is a few that are really even more important than homicides. I believe that the number one baseline for how your community is doing is not how good or bad a shooter is, or how good or bad a doctor is, or how close you are to a medical facility, emergency room, but it's the number of shots that are being fired. It's the number of people that are non-fatal shootings. That is, a bullet draws blood. Because a lot of the other things are out of our control, but if we can control those that are shooting, the homicides are going to be reduced. At this point, the Baton Rouge Police is down 18% in homicides from the year before and 30% down from the year before that. The East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office is up by 20%, but I want to caution you that in January of this year, they had 6 homicides that month. Normally, there are 6 to 10 a year. So the number is skewed, it's just an odd number for them. I'm not alarmed at all by their number, but it's something we need to look at. Non-fatal shootings, that is bullet drawing blood, in the city is down 21%, and by the sheriff in the parish, we're down 32%. That's the number that I look at the most because of those others. Where we're not doing so well again this year, and we're slightly up, but it's people's lives, and it is fatal fentanyl overdose deaths, and we're up 4% today. We struggle, we go back and forth over up and down, but that's a number that you don't want to have. We are down by 15% those non-fatal overdose deaths, and I'm not sure exactly why that's the case, but that's where we are. One note on the fentanyl deaths. This year we will probably wind up with 300, and we're at 92 for homicides. So at least tripled the fentanyl overdose rate. It just seems to be that everything is laced and cut with fentanyl and other new drugs. And I know this has touched everyone in this room, some here obviously more than others. You can no longer go and say, I don't know anyone who's overdosed from heroin, because it's all over in our high schools, our colleges, wherever you go. And that number 300 ought to be alarming to everyone. We ought to say we really need to do something about it. But it's something that's hard for us to combat on our own. If we don't stop the drugs coming in from the border, whichever way they come in, either whether it's from the south or being flown in, or the precursor materials that China is producing, they're killing Americans. They're not killing folks all over the world. They're killing Americans more so than anywhere else. And we have to do something politically on a national level to spank their hand and say, stop, you're not going to send the poison in to kill our people. But we have not had the ability to do this yet. This drug does not differentiate between white or black, Jewish or Catholic. It's everyone. And we have seen it now infiltrate all of the different nationalities. And so nobody is safe. No drug that you take anymore is safe. Pills that you take are no longer safe unless you get them from the pharmacist. We are finding more and more pressed pills and pill presses, and it looks as good as it can look like a regular drug. And if you think you're taking a Percocet, it's cut with fentanyl. It's just so cheap to cut it. And oftentimes these kids who are overdosing are suffering from an addiction, but get something that they don't know or don't want. But unfortunately, oftentimes it is the demand. They want that high, and they want to continue to chase that high. So we have to find a way to stop the borders. We have to find a way to stop addictions. And mental health is an issue. Drug addiction is a big issue, and it's sad, but we can't let our friends and our family, our citizens, continue to die like this at the hands of other people. Commons. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Commons. We announced last week at a press conference a forward-facing dashboard so that you guys, particularly in the press or citizens, can take a look at how we operate. The biggest criticism of district attorneys across the nation for years is that you're the most powerful actor in the justice system because you have discretion. I can say yes or no. And now, as you know, discretion is being attacked across the country by some others where they do not want prosecutors to have discretion, which, understand the argument. This forward-facing dashboard, for the first time ever, you can look at a category and see where we are, what we're doing, what we're prosecuting, what we've dismissed. We have drop-down boxes for the reasons why we do what we do. The thing that's unique about ours is that we met with a community team for the last 3 years, and we developed what they told us the community would want to see from us. Like, what are you doing? How are you handling the case? Obviously, 100 Black Men was there with a representative here with us, jail coalitions, you name it. We met with all of them. And so I encourage you to go to the website, at the district attorney's website, take a look at it. It's brand new. We will have hiccups. My only fear is that someone will look at it and run with data without maybe asking questions as to why. Why is this way? Can you explain that? And so please always feel free to call me with any of the questions that you have, because numbers are numbers, data is great, but there's always going to be explanations behind people and the actions that people take and things that you just can't see by plain numbers. It is a challenge. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was a new passion that I have is called Prosecutors for Prosecutors. And this is I've been following this for a long time, and being a prosecutor, it has affected me. But when we went to Afghanistan and took over in 2001, and we helped those people to fight the Taliban, we also at the same time, the United States government and the Department of Justice, we set up their justice system, just somewhat like we have here. They've never had a justice system before outside of the Islamic law. Women were not allowed to have any place in any position at all as a prosecutor, judge, defense lawyer. We established the rule of law there and trained all of their prosecutors, judges, defense lawyers. And unfortunately, when we left, when the last plane left, that you saw the people hanging onto the wheels, falling off the airplane, we left everyone behind. Despite our commitment that we're going to take care of you, we're going to stand behind you, and please prosecute the Taliban. And by the way, we're going to have female judges and lawyers and defense counsel and prosecutors, and we have left them behind. Overwhelmingly, we have now, through our program, it says prosecutors for prosecutors, but it includes judges and defense lawyers, anyone involved in the system. We want to try to rescue. Particularly the women are being killed. We've had 55 justice-involved folks killed, overwhelming majority women. The women that are killed and beaten are beaten in public in the streets so people can see that the Taliban is now back, and you are not allowed to even go to school as a young girl back now since we left, but surely not to be a judge and place the Taliban in jail. When that airplane left, we have the video and the pictures showing the Taliban with the keys, letting their Taliban people in jail, incarcerated, out, telling them go seek your revenge, which they have done. Many of the prosecutors and judges have made it to Pakistan and Iraq, which are not the safest place for them. We get letters on a daily basis asking us, please rescue me and get me somewhere. The problem is that the way that our special immigration visa and P1 and P2 visas are, they cannot apply, and they can rarely apply and get one. So not only do we have to get them to a border of a country safely by some third-party groups, we have to get them a valid visa, or the other country is not going to take them. We have millions of billions of people coming through millions of people coming through the border, but we're not able yet to help the people that established the rule of law to prosecute the Taliban at our request and our assurance that we're going to help them. So that's something I just can't get out of my mind. that this is going on in America. That was not our mission. Our mission was to finish it. And I think that we need to go back and finish it, as the Marines and the Navy are going back to get their interpreters like you've seen in movies. I think we owe the same for these people. These are talented, educated folks. And I made a trip to Turkey about a month and a half ago with some others. And I'm going to hold a press conference in 2 weeks to give you a little bit of more information about what's going on, what we did, what our plan is, and how we plan on trying to rescue these folks from where they are. It is an awful situation. Lastly, just by chance, I just thought of the millages and the taxing. You know, the juvenile detention facility in the parish prison, it's on every topic we talk about. We have been talking about this for decades in Baton Rouge, that we need a new prison, and now we're in our third decade talking about it and still not doing anything. And I'm not promoting one or the other without discussion, but take a look at the millages that we have, and you'll see we really do not have a law enforcement millage. You have a special millage that sheriff has that's been on for a long time, that without that millage, the sheriff could not survive. And there's a very slight millage for the Baton Rouge Police to have three different patrol units. But there's nothing else in any millages for law enforcement to keep up with what we have to keep up with, particularly our juvenile detention center, which is awful. Never designed to be a detention facility, always designed to be a treatment facility. We've turned it into a detention facility, and we see what's happening. It holds 50, but we can only house 38 because of pay and people to work there that are being paid $15 an hour, and they're civilians, they're not law enforcement. It just doesn't work. Of the 38 beds, I believe 20 are there for first or second degree murder. It's a different time. I think our juvenile justice system has to be turned over its head, and we have to look at it, how we're dealing with these youngsters. We have to get to them earlier. We have to look at our public education system and our truancy. You as a city and our parish will go as our public education goes. We have to support full public education. We cannot have the truancy numbers that we have, because it just continues to generate more crime and kids that are being left behind. We can't afford that anymore. We've talked about it enough. I think we have to get it on. Same thing with the parish prison. It's so outdated. We just have to get something done. It's that time, but it takes discussion. It's going to be a big ticket item. And we're going to get it one way or the other, either by a consent decree or by our own violation. So I've not talked enough, and I'd rather answer your questions than things I would like to say. So anybody have any questions that I can answer? Yes, sir.
I haven't seen the numbers that you guys got. What trends are you seeing in terms of crimes, particularly property crimes and so forth, against businesses? What sort of trends do you see?
Yeah, well, that was more prevalent surely during the COVID time. But I'm going to tell you what the things that we see the most and are working with the retailers is these big box stores. They're getting killed, and your price is going up. We have a retailers association here that's really robust of the entire Baton Rouge region, and they're doing a good job of meeting together every month and identifying most frequent people who are stealing from them. We're also seeing a lot of big, on a national level, a lot of big wholesale theft of big items, and these third-party countries are selling them on their websites, and Amazon or whatever, delivering them to your doorstep, and it's stolen property. So that is a big issue that's going on now. Homeland Security in Baton Rouge is a much bigger organization than you guys would know. They are the biggest federal organization. They were strongly behind this work with the retail theft and the international rings, and they are devoting a lot of time to this right now. Homeland Security is also now working with us in LSU and their cyber divisions of trying to see if we can't get some free work out of LSU and LSU students because of all of the cell phones that we're inundated with now by crimes and by heroin fentanyl overdoses. Those cell phones hold a ton of data, and it's generally the last thing that happens before someone's killed or you killed or you overdose or die. It has something to do with your phone. It's just like anything that you do in your legitimate business. It's on your phone. And that's where your life is. But getting into that phone because of the encryption is extremely difficult for us. And we'd like to find ways that we can legally, with search warrants, get into these devices. It's very, very hard. Yes, sir.
When you talk about those numbers and where Baton Rouge stands relative to other cities, how do you explain that? What's
Yeah. So, the only way, the question was, how can you explain Baton Rouge compared to others? It has been Baton Rouge since we can ever look and see. I do believe a lot has to do with education and race and where we are with who's killed and who's being killed. It's poverty and education. If you look at every list that you can look at that's really, really good stuff, or really, really bad stuff. On the good stuff, we're at the lowest end. On the bad stuff, we're at the highest. If you change one side of it, you're going to change the other side. We have just not yet committed to having, in my opinion, committed to having public safety being the priority issue. And it should be for government always the priority. Fortunately, we do have business that steps up and helps us. We have to find a way for Baton Rouge to get behind the crime problem. We shouldn't be having to worry about crime. We should be worried about, okay, that's a bad number, we're at 40. Until we get rid of this issue and get this behind us, you're not going to make Baton Rouge the destination city for people to come to, which is what all of us want and all our businesses want. I can tell you that the men and women that live in the most poverty-stricken and crime-ridden areas, when we walk through those areas, these people flock out, and my hair is standing on my arms, flock out of the house to say, when you coming back? So it is unfair to categorize it's those people, it's their problem. No, it's all of our problems. And they want good law enforcement. They do not want shots fired. They want their kid educated. They want him to be successful. They want to see him on the cover of a magazine, not in a jail picture. And so I know we have the commitment to do it, but I think we all have to get together and recognize that this is all of our problems, regardless of where you live. And those people mostly affected actually want it, and not vice versa. Yes, sir.
Do you agree with the mayor's continued insistence that Baton Rouge is a safe city?
So, I think that when she's talking about those numbers, you have to look at the individual numbers. I think that when she makes that reference, I see her talking about overall crime has been around the same or slightly decreased. But then, you have to look at the homicide numbers in particular areas where you are. But I think that this is what I believe, what I know to be the fact, is that particularly homicide. Homicide is never or randomly random. It is the killer and the victim know each other very well, one way or the other. They're in business, they're rivals. It is extremely rare that you get Allie Rice and Devin Page in Baton Rouge or anywhere else. So crime knows each other. It's generally black on black. It's white on white. It's family on family. It's not a whodunit, but nobody wants to cooperate, and it makes us very difficult. So I think overall, if you're not involved in a group or gang and or dealing drugs, homicide-wise or violent crime-wise, you are fairly safe, although you will find cases where the contrary is true. But I think when those statements are made, it's more of a non-crime of violence is what I perceive. Sorry.
With law enforcement, mental illness, and all that, is there any kind of way that they can work together with the people releasing that's mentally ill from jail?
This question about mental illness and people being released from jail that are mentally ill. Look, the overwhelming population of our jails and parish prisons have people that are mentally ill. I think that where the state does a poor job is that we send people to prison because of their sentence, but generally the terms that they're serving in prison is at the parish prison. And the sheriff has not paid a lot of money to house and educate and train, although Steve Gotra does a good job here with a lot of programs. And they never make it to state prison to get all of the benefits of a state facility. We have to find a way to not just let a young kid that has struggled his entire life and family to convict him and then let him right out of jail without a driver's license, a place to stay, travel, transportation, he's coming back again. He's coming back in 2 years. I can guarantee you it's going to happen. And so we have to find a way to get these kids some help and treatment and guidance. Can we hold something over their head? Same way with juveniles. Look, juvenile life is up to 21 years of age. You're 17 years old and you kill someone. If I do not try as an adult, you're gone by the age of 21, and I have no authority or control over you at all. That does not settle well with victims' families who are killed by a 17-year-old, regardless of whether they're 4'11" and they have an AR that's twice their size. That's just not working. And the kids are becoming more and more violent. For whatever that reason is, and they are young, their brain is not filled. I got it all, but we still have to protect public. And unfortunately, oftentimes, that's a trial as an adult, and it's hard to point as a prosecutor at a kid who's 15 that killed 2 or 3 people, and he's this tall, he has a polo shirt on with fake glasses, and say put him in jail for the rest of his life, although he can get out after 25. It's hard for these guys to do it, but for public safety, it's some of these cases we have to make that decision. And yes.
Hillar.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it. See.
Speaking of juveniles, last week we had 2 juveniles escape from the juvenile detention facility. Can you give us an update? Do you believe they're still in town? And then when we spoke with the mayor, she was saying that the facility is so antiquated, there needs to be money for a new facility. She was saying that she was going to be meeting with you, the sheriff, the police chief, everybody to come up with a plan. Can you also talk about where those talks stand and the funding needed to make that happen?
So yes, we have met on this again time after time. We've had study after study. It is way antiquated. Somebody is going to get hurt again at the juvenile detention facility. I'm amazed that a judge, defense lawyer, prosecutor has not been hurt at the facility or any one of the workers there. It was never designed to be secure, and we're trying to make it secure, and it has just not worked. I have not yet met with the mayor on that issue. We've talked about it ad nauseum, but I know that that's coming. It's always going to be about the money, and that's a tough question and sell for people to pay taxes when you believe you're paying enough taxes, or we already have a lot of taxes. Can we not use those and put it to this that's needed? Chris, I have no idea where the juveniles are. I am troubled that one person escaped twice. I can tell you that we have tried to have other sheriffs and other facilities detain some of our folks. Following that first escape, the first recent escape, I contacted the Sheriff's Association around the state, saying, hey, can you house these juveniles for us? And I mean, they ran as quick as they could. Like, you got to be crazy. I had one sheriff that said, I'll consider it, and then the second escape happened, and that's gone. So the rule is that if someone is below 18 and I file a motion to transfer them physically from the detention center to the parish prison can house them if they're under 18, but they have to be kept sight and sound away from all adults. And the parish prison, as you know, is broken down, and we need to know they cannot physically comply with the constitutional mandates. Once you turn 18, you're automatically transferred. One of the escapees turns 18 in January. When he is captured, he will go immediately to the parish prison. But until then, again, you're housing folks that have been violent or accused of being violent multiple times at a facility that's not there and is not run by law enforcement. It's run by regular lay people, and they are just overwhelmed. And again, I think we're going to pay for it one way or the other. I'd rather do it on our terms, as big as that number may be, than a quadruple number by a consent decree. Yes, sir. Oh God, I see now my law school classmate.
My law school classmate, who I thoroughly respect, and you know that. But you also know that for years now, I've been pontificating the danger of not addressing Louisiana Revised Statute 30, Section 51. East Baton Rouge Parish happens to be the capital and the parish that's actually jurisdictional to every state agency. I promise the members of the Baton Rouge Press Club on red mass that I would not blow this whistle again. My question to you, sir, is may I have the opportunity to finally meet with you and talk to you in person as the number 1 or number 2 graduate of that great SULC class of 1989, so that you would be in a position to make sure, regardless of the other district attorneys who the head of the association said, look, you got a lot of responsibility, but no authority. District attorneys, the ones that met with me, agree with me. But you, sir,
All right,
never met. Can you do that?
All right, so you have my phone number, you have my email address, I get emails from you constantly. You are a friend of mine, I respect you. You have met with the DA's Association, you have met with the Executive Council of the District Attorneys Association, you have met with the Attorney General's office. We have told you what our position is on that. I'll surely meet with you again, but our position is the same, the law is the same, the interpretation is the same. But again, absolutely we'll meet with you, just like anyone else. When's the last time you called to ask to meet with me?
I've been coming.
When? Tell me, show me.
The last time was 3 months ago.
Really? On the email?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see the email.
What is the issue, please?
It's going to take it's a complicated issue. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As the mayor looks for a new police chief, do you have any advice of what she should be looking for in a new police chief?
Yeah. Someone that's bulletproof and can take a lot. It is a difficult job. It's a job that I would not have. Look, I respect everyone that's been the chief of police here. I believe that this next chief will be my 8th or 9th. I've been here 15 years. I've had one sheriff because we had a lot of interims in between. So they generally stay 2 or 3 years. But I think right now what the city needs is somebody who's tried and true, that knows violent crime and knows the city violent crime, knows our groups and gangs, knows the drug position, and has the respect of the men and women of the police department to get that department back again with the morale and just the vigor that you want to have. That's a tough order. Who that is, surely I have people that I think would fit great in that position. But that's a decision that she has to make, and it's a tough one. And it may be an interim to her election or whoever is the mayor. But I've enjoyed my experience with everyone. And look, there are men and women out here bust their tails all day long. I can tell you that, forget to mention when we talked about fentanyl and heroin, the sheriff's office is kicking butt on drug dealers and guns, and particularly fentanyl. They do not play with small cases. They make big cases. They take their time and make really bigger cases. I do know the Baton Rouge Police is working with that agency now to see how they can learn from each other to make the bigger cases, not the small cases, to make us better. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see who it is, and I can guarantee I'll reach out to them immediately and say, can we have a couple hours together and talk? It's going to, because the Baton Rouge's future is in that person's hand to a large degree, in the mayor's.
Yes, if we can merge the sheriff and the police department, protecting the city police with their pensions and benefits already, and merge them in it, would that work? Would that help us?
So, you can have debaters on both sides of that, and it'll be strong. But yes, I think that a merger of the departments, as long as everyone's rights and positions are protected, yes. But it would be costly to buy out unions, contracts that are there, insurance. But you'll have everyone on the same structure, everyone on the same radio stations, one dispatcher, not multiple, same promotion schemes. Not one hand not know what the other's doing, and not wanting to cooperate with the other. There are a ton of benefits to it. It will be costly to do it, but surely there's a benefit to doing that. I'm sure there's some detractors that say there's not, because we've already been down this road a lot, but there have to be some changes to our city parish charter, maybe the Constitution. I'm not don't recall, but yeah, it's been studied, as you know, forever here. It was my college graduation paper, and that's 50 years ago. So it's still the same issue. Everything comes down to money, unfortunately.
You think that would help or hurt if you had a consent decree?
Oh, no, no one wants a consent decree. I mean, it's,
Merge the two.
yeah, it's just, it takes 40 years to, it would take 40 years to get out of a consent decree. Look at New Orleans. I mean, it's so costly. It's 4 times the amount. So I just think we have to tackle it on our own and discuss it. But it's tough to ask people for taxes. Yes, sir.
With a high percentage of drugs having fentanyl, why do you think people are taking the risk?
His question is extremely good. Why are people taking the risk if they know that it's laced with fentanyl? This is unfortunately the truth. That people that get hooked on a regular prescribed drug by a doctor, since we have the prescription monitoring program, you just can't go back and get another prescription as easy as you could have in past days. It's expensive as well. And now the drug is so cheap on the street that you can get that high that you got used to, but they're always chasing the high. And they want the highest high that they can get and then come back from death's doorstep and survive. This is a sad story, but it's true. We have seen that people that overdose and die, those others that want the drug and want to use the drug will find the dealer that sold the deadly drug because they believe that's the best drugs that are out there right now, and they believe they're stronger than the person who died because of maybe they just got out of jail or just got out of the hospital. That is really what we see. But now they move from just cutting the fentanyl and making it pill presses. And now you're moving into a whole different group of folks. But that is, unfortunately, people are addicted, and we have to find a way to help them. And it's just not an easy answer. We go out on the weekends to our hotspots. We can see where our hotspots are. We go out to the weekends and hand out information. It's called When You Are Ready, because we know if you're not ready, you can't force it on them. You know, parents come to us all the time crying with a dilemma. Would you please put my son in jail? What do you do? Well, he's using drugs. Well, what do you want to put him in jail for? Well, I think maybe he stole something from me. I said, you know, I guess you could call the police and have him arrested. Some parents want them arrested because they want a judge to say you must go to treatment. That's a bad way to go about it, but for some parents, I understand it. I've met with a lot of parents who have lost their children that they're kicking themselves saying, I wish I would have had him arrested. Not an easy answer. The stories are horrible to sit and listen to with parents struggling with this. Yes.
I know you addressed the prisons and the psychiatric hospital things, but would you mind elaborating a little more on the need maybe for a psychiatric hospital that might help this homeless situation that apparently, according to the sheriff, 80% of our homeless are in dire need of psychiatric.
Yeah, no doubt the majority of our homeless folks are not only in need of mental health, but drug addiction and, unfortunately, heroin as well. What we have found in trying to go out and speak with these people who are from all over, some are our own family members here that are homeless because they don't want to be home. They don't want any help. They do not want the help. They want to be where they are, unfortunately, because of the problems that they have. And we see it repeatedly that you can pick them up, you can put them in jail, you can get them right out and get them on their way to some help, but they're not going to come back either for lack of desire or want or ability to do that, or they're just not able to. I mean, the Briggs Center has done a good job with that, but we have just, that homelessness it's eaten up the north and the northwest, and we have enough. I've seen some decline in some of what I've seen downtown, but it's only sites and not numbers. But what do you do with them? Where do you put them? Is it a jail situation? And the judge is going to have to let, I mean, look, we got limited space. Do you put that homeless person in? It's tough. It's not doing us any good unless we help them and get them help. And it's just not an easy answer.
One last question.
Just not Chris Nakamoto. Oh, you neither. Anybody? Yes, sir.
Governor-elect Landry is one of the first governors to have this transition outside of Baton Rouge.
Right.
Attorney General Landry has always had this on beat for New Orleans, so much so that his news conference to announce state police was held in the Superdome. Do you think that his intentions of heading toward New Orleans, is that any indication that if he does something well there, he may try to move toward Baton Rouge? Or is it just New Orleans?
I have no idea. I would assume it's New Orleans, but I do not know what his intentions are. He's not spoken with me, nor does he have to, but I'm willing to talk and listen because as the capital of Baton Rouge, we should have the best of everything that in the city. New Orleans seems to get it all, and we get second or third, and it's not fair. We should be the best. We have Southern and LSU here. We use, as an office, we use those universities to our advantage. They are such big powerhouses of intelligence and energy. We need to really find a way as a state to use those guys to help us in all aspects of what we do. And I want to encourage him to do that with all the universities. They are gold mines, and we just have not used them as much as we should. But hey, whatever works, maybe in one place doesn't work in another, but it's all about data and continue to try because you have to. So I appreciate you allowing me being here today. I do love the job I have. I wake up every morning wanting to go to this position. I work with some great young men and women, great prosecutors, and I know it's a tough job, and oftentimes maybe you disagree with what I do or you're mad because of what's happening. I understand. I'm available, and I'm willing to continue the job to work for everybody in Baton Rouge, not just particular segments. So thanks for that opportunity. I appreciate it.
And that concludes today's Baton Rouge Press Club meeting. We have one more meeting left for the year. A speaker is still being determined, and we'll make that announcement later. Thank y'all so much.